Part 151. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1504. However, the leader of them was indeed a creature who could rule an area. At this moment, he looked at the child at the height with fear. Then he roared angrily. Superior. Generally speaking, the giants will not take the battle against small creatures seriously. Unless it is a powerful existence that they all pay attention to, there is no way that any small creature can make them all have murderous intentions. This is just like the people on Earth who will not kill small creatures casually, and even have to be a little wary of the alliance of small creatures here. After all, such small creatures also have their own organizations. And Jia Yan only believed in this after listening to the words of the beetle creature. Of course, although he believed it, he would not take this kind of thing to heart, because he has subspace talents, and he was able to avoid the slap of the female giant for the first time, so he already felt that as long as he was careful, he was not afraid of ordinary giants. Because even though ordinary giants are extremely strong, and even their power is intimidating, their bodies are too big, and their speed is inversely proportional. Even if they are very fast, as long as they don't hit them with a punch from close range, Jia Yan at least there was time to hide in subspace. Puff. The contact between the two sides was amazing. Although one of the four beetle creatures is not very strong, the four of them together are extremely terrifying. They instantly faced off against the two creatures brought by the opponent. The combat strength of both sides is almost similar. You must know that the coming creatures are completely the main leaders of each territory, and the soldiers behind them have not yet arrived. But that's it. The battle between the four beetle creatures and the two bosses was such a shock to the group of approaching creatures. These four beetles were originally the leaders of a territory. Together, the four leaders occupied an ordinary territory of one creature. However, when the four beetle creatures joined forces, they actually reached the strength of the masters of the two territories. This is so impressive. People are shocked by their ability to hide their strength. After the two most powerful territorial leaders, there are also various territorial lords, and even subordinates of various territorial lords. Some of them are even close to a territory lord in strength, or some are even stronger than a territory lord. Of course, not to mention, the controller with unknown strength and unknown strength is present. But how could the four beetle creatures dare to fight against so many enemies just by relying on their own strength? Naturally, it was because they had confidence, and the existence of this confidence was the Lord Jia Yan who asked them to fight. If Master Jia Yan had not shown his terrifying strength, it is estimated that these creatures would not believe that they actually dared to attack a group of creatures with similar strength to themselves. While they were fighting, a creature in the back laughed loudly and was about to join in the attack on the four beetle creatures. He also knew that the beetle creatures were powerful, but when he joined the battle, he would definitely die. But just as he was about to join the fight, a ripple suddenly appeared in this space, suddenly twisting. Within this space, a figure that was approaching quickly rushed directly to this place, and then, his front feet naturally attacked. Puff. This creature that was about to take action didn't even have a chance to escape under the sneak attack from its front legs. It actually lost the breath of life directly under such a sneak attack. What? That guy actually used this kind of attack. Behind, the creatures were completely unable to detect the sudden attack at this moment. Even at this moment, they didn't know when the forefoot that had just appeared disappeared. To them, this was an unbelievably terrifying speed. Of course, for such an ordinary creature, there is no way that what suddenly appeared was Jia Yan's true body, and the ability he used was the subspace talent he had only mastered. Jia Yan did not let these creatures have too much time to be frightened, because he entered the subspace again, and after dispatching again and again, he suddenly carried out sneak attacks and battles against a group of creatures. No. Impossible, what the hell is this? Ah. The attack power displayed by a creature against Jia Yan was completely unpredictable, but when he wanted to ask something, a front foot had already appeared from beside him, and then the creature appeared directly with a spray of water. Signs of blood, and then dying beyond hope. This. Farther away, the moth-like controller was also greatly shocked at this moment. A person with superpowers? The existence of such a talent really makes people jealous. The moth creature seemed to have misunderstood something. At this moment, it felt as if Jia Yan was some kind of creature that he also knew. But is Jia Yan the kind of creature he knows? In fact, it may be, or it may not be, because the superpowers he refers to in this world are some beings with unique combat abilities. Jia Yan's subspace talent is obviously one of the people with this kind of ability in this world. However, he is not too afraid of Jia Yan's ability, because no matter what ability it is, as long as it is carefully monitored, there will always be a way to crack it. But he didn't take action directly. He just watched Jia Yan's action silently on the grass on one side. A group of enemies around the beetle creatures actually dared not touch the four beetles, because they discovered that no matter who dared to approach these four creatures, there would be Jia Yan's front feet. Fly out of space and shoot them. What should we do? We might as well retreat strategically. A creature that looked like a red 7-star ladybug shouted to the surrounding comrades. No, this guy obviously wants to kill us completely. If we escape, maybe we can leave him behind, which will make it easier for him to do it. That's right, have you noticed that he is also afraid of our counterattack? Just when the dead Bill wanted to counterattack, he blocked his blow. Several creatures quickly noticed that Jia Yan did not seem to be invincible, or in other words, he did not want to take the risk of injury and kill them regardless of the consequences. When he appears, we will attack him desperately, so that at least we can wait for others to come to our rescue. Several creatures were worthy of being creatures whose strength had reached the intermediate level of a star. After talking for a while, they came up with ideas on how to deal with Jia Yan. Oh? Do you want to deal with me? You can give it a try. Suddenly, Jia Yan's voice appeared silently behind a creature. Poof! His front feet were like ubiquitous sharp blades, suddenly slicing the opponent's body, causing the creature that was still talking just now to fight against Jia Yan to be cut in two quickly from the center. Ah! Another creature near this creature finally couldn't muster any desire to fight anymore and ran away directly. The battle requirements they had just agreed on. At this moment Jia Yan directly killed the creature who said this, and it actually fell apart in an instant. Although they also knew that Jia Yan deliberately killed the creature, it should be because the words he said must have a certain effect on Jia Yan, but at this moment, no one of them dared to encourage others to take action. Because whoever speaks out will definitely be chased by Jia Yan and be the first to kill him. I see. Just when a group of territorial leaders and their subordinates were all frightened, the controller who had been watching for a long time on the other side suddenly laughed loudly. Then, like a hurricane, this moth creature suddenly shot in from outside the field. This creature actually said he knew something. Ah, Master Controller, you finally took action. Kill this guy quickly. Too many brothers have died. Noisy. The controller who flew over did not pay any attention to the creature's thoughts. Instead, after flying next to it, he swept it with one wing, causing the creature to be pushed aside without knowing whether it was alive or dead. The fleeing creatures were all dumbfounded. It turned out that the controller whom they regarded as their savior was actually indifferent to them. Of course the controller doesn't care, otherwise how could he just watch this group of creatures die and be injured one by one? Now through observation, he finally knew Jia Yan's weakness, or what he thought was his weakness. Get out of here, you outsider. The controller stood at the place where Jia Yan disappeared just now. A sudden roar came out of his mouth. For Jia Yan, he was completely disdainful. The sneak attack just now made him understand that this guy's combat effectiveness was probably much weaker than his own. Of course, his sneak attack ability made the controller extremely fearful, which is why he hid aside and observed Jia Yan for so long just now. "Oh, Your Excellency, you want me to come out, are you prepared to fight me?" Jia Yan's figure appeared 100 miles away from the moth creature. For creatures of their size, such a small distance can be said to be reached in an instant. When the moth creature saw Jia Yan actually appearing, a strange chill flashed through his eyes. "Sir, be careful, he is the one in control." Farther away, the four beetle creatures fighting two territorial level creatures quickly reminded Jia Yan when they saw the controller. Moreover, they believed that Jia Yan was too confident. To show up like that in front of the master, wouldn't it be that he was putting his life in the hands of the master? The controller is indeed worthy of being a famous person. When the four beetle creatures directly revealed his identity, they suddenly moved. His speed, in the eyes of Jia Yan, who has not entered the subspace, is extremely terrifying, at least more than double his speed. But at that moment, all the big beetle creatures in that mountain felt that something was wrong. Jia Yan, who was targeted by the controller creature, seemed to have everything under his control at this moment. He said lightly, "I know. This Lord's strength is so terrifying. How could I not know that he is the one in control, haha." Jia Yan stepped back calmly, about to retreat into the subspace. Late. The controller didn't know what Jia Yan's ability to retreat into the subspace was, but he knew how to deal with it. At least for now, as long as Jia Yan doesn't retreat into the subspace, he can attack quickly. And he didn't think that Jia Yan's retreat speed would be faster than his attack speed. Too late? It's not too late. If you want to fight me, I'll fight you once. Jia Yan smiled again. At this moment, Jia Yan's combat power was like a terrifying balloon that suddenly surged. The power that had been hidden before surged out of his body like crazy. What? This guy actually hides so much power, it's not good. The person who controlled the attack suddenly changed his demeanor. His moth wings, at this moment, are he must break hard and push himself back. But how could all this change? Jia Yan finally got him to come to him, so how could he miss this opportunity? At this moment, he suddenly used his front feet. The speed of the front feet at this time is more than double the speed of fighting so many creatures before. So fast. At this moment, the controller moth felt a shocking attack force coming towards him. He had no time to react, so he blocked one of his wings in front of him. But all this was not enough, Jia Yan's attack instantly imprinted his wings. The wings instantly made a sound that made people feel their teeth grinding. And at this moment, a gap appeared in his huge wings, and then Jia Yan's front feet, which were slightly emitting blue light, suddenly inserted into the gap in the wings. However, with the obstruction of the wings, the controller had already reacted and instantly blocked Jia Yan's front foot with one of his feet. But all this was still not enough. The foot of the controller was broken by Jia Yan's blow. It was rolling and rolled out by the shock wave of this blow. All this can be said to have happened between the rise of the rabbit and the fall of the falcon. Jia Yan knocked one of the controllers away with one blow. This kind of strength can be said to have made all the creatures present feel speechless and unable to speak at all. Is the controller very strong? In my opinion, it's nothing more than that. Jia Yan shook his feet lightly to cover up the slight trembling of his feet. Of course, the controller is strong. Jia Yan's attack was like a sneak attack, but it still had a huge counter-attack force, which was almost too much for him to bear. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1505. But no matter what, the winner is still Jia Yan. Of course, the controller blocked the sky-shattering blow and did not die. His moth expression turned ferocious, and he instantly jumped to the ground on one side. Of course, the distance on this side is hundreds of kilometers away. For Jia Yan, the feeling of attack at this moment was extremely refreshing. You must know that his strength has just been improved. Speaking of which, this is still Jia Yan's first battle with all his strength. This kind of battle, for Jia Yan's newly improved strength, seems to make his self-confidence explode again. Of course, there are too many super strong people in this world, just like the giant child watching this scene. Even among the giants, his strength is only that of a child, but for someone as small as Jia Yan, in front of the creature, there is still a powerful existence that is impossible to resist. Do you know what will happen if you attack me or even hurt me? The controller's expression turned gloomy, and his huge moth eyes flashed with a heart-stopping light. You must know that as the controller of this huge territory, he is extremely majestic in this area, but now Jia Yan actually injured him with one blow in front of all his subordinates. This is a big deal for him. The feeling that one's own majesty has been swept away. I don't know what you mean, or are you ready to use the power behind you to put pressure on me? Jia Yan smiled slightly and spoke disdainfully towards the moth creature. The moth creature became angry for a while. Because he had already felt it, Jia Yan gave him the feeling that he did not understand what the status of a controller like him was in the city. This shocked him. If Jia Yan was an outsider, so how did he get into the city, fly in? This is a huge risk, and even he, a creature that can also fly, is not willing to take such a risk. But if we say that this creature came to the city from the outside world, it can be explained. Are you an outsider? A dark color flashed in the eyes of the controller, and he felt that it was a bit difficult to handle. An outsider had no idea what kind of place the controller alliance in this city was. Even if he had a backstage, he would not be able to deal with such a stupid situation. Are also invalid? Yes, I am an outsider. At first, Jia Yan heard that the person who became the controller suspected that he was from the outside world. However, when he reacted, he realized that the outsider he meant was that he was from outside the city. He was so frightened that he almost lost his composure. Fortunately, he immediately realized that he didn't mean that the other party had seen through his origins. Outsiders, I advise you not to be so arrogant in this city. Things in this city are far more exaggerated than you think. Praise you. Jia Yan sneered and retreated directly into the subspace. This time he wanted to try to see if he could use his talents in the subspace to fight against this powerful controller, or what the effect would be. Asshole, if you don't eat the toast, you will be punished with a drink. You thought I would really defeat you. When the controller saw that Jia Yan didn't care about his words and just wanted to fight, his mood suddenly became extremely bad. His strength is considered very strong, but the feeling of the blow just now was like he was completely defeated, and the controller recalled carefully that the other party seemed to have some reservations, which made him feel that this time was a bit difficult. Manage. Why haven't my reinforcements come yet? Does this guy think that if he attacks our controller in this corner, there will be no reinforcements? He is completely wrong. The controller has a solemn look on his face. What he wants to do now is not to defeat Jia Yan, but at this moment, he just needs to hold Jia Yan back, because he understands that he just passed some technology spread the news that a powerful outsider appeared here. In this way, other controllers around you will arrive soon. Their controller has such an invisible communication method, and the surrounding creatures generally don't know it, so he doesn't think the creature in front of him will know that he actually has the ability to contact external rescuers from a distance. As long as reinforcements come, one can't defeat this outsider, but two? No matter if two are not enough, then three, the opponent is just a strong person, and in front of a steady stream of strong people, there will always be times when he loses. Puff. When this moth creature was thinking about how to ravage Jia Yan later. But a front foot suddenly appeared from his side. Huh? Sneak attack. The controller had seen Jia Yan's fighting method before, but when he saw Jia Yan perform this kind of sneak attack again, and used it on himself, he immediately felt the incredible power of this kind of strength. Before he appeared, there was no energy fluctuation at all. How could it be like this? What was that distortion? Could it be the space itself? Isn't this an advanced skill that only creatures with great power can use? He is so how can a tiny creature master this kind of skill? The controller instantly noticed Jia Yan's attack and quickly blocked his injured wing. Puff! A shocking force tore his wings apart, but under the wings were the feet of a moth creature. Bang! The two intersect, and the force of the sudden collision directly blasts the controller further away. Puff! No matter how strong the controller was, under two consecutive huge collisions, he couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. He was already shaking. Jia Yan looked at the creatures around him again. When he attacked just now, he had already killed or seriously injured several of them. The remaining creatures, except for 3 or 4, had no ability to fight at all. Jia Yan simply used another powerful ability of his. That is the special high-frequency vibration he created through his understanding of the yin and yang system, combined with the subspace, and the stirring artistic conception of the heart. In the past, he used this kind of shock to make many powerful men in the universe unable to move under this kind of power, and then they were killed by himself or his subordinates. I had tried to use this ability in this world during previous battles, but failed to do so. But this time it was different. After understanding the so-called Dao Queen in this world, Jia Yan's barrier to this world was no longer as huge as imagined. So after stimulating his body, he suddenly... A terrifying shock force completely erupted in this area. The controller who retreated seemed to have seen something incredible at this moment. God, what is this? Who are you? He retreated crazily. At this moment, he no longer had the slightest intention of fighting Jia Yan. For this controller, he saw too many things today that exceeded his imagination. Even at this moment, he was wondering if there was something wrong with the life he had lived before. But Jia Yan would never give him so much time to think. After emitting this shocking power, the creature that just wanted to escape was instantly enveloped by Jia Yan's concussive power, and then became unable to move. It's not that they can't move, but that their ability to move was directly resolved by Jia Yan's concussive brain waves, so it appeared as if they couldn't move. You 4, kill them all, and I will kill the controller. Jia Yan said this, and then left the 4 beetle creatures on the side that were not affected by Jia Yan's concussive power. These 4 beetle creatures were originally fighting fiercely with their opponents, but at this moment, they found that none of the opponents in front of them could move. Oh my God! At this moment, Ada, the 4 beetle creatures, finally seemed to know what kind of existence the 4 of them had encountered. This existence seemed to be a creature whose strength was completely beyond their level. Even the one they wanted just now, the creatures that were beaten to death were, at this moment, directly controlled by this existence's means and unable to move. However, only one creature was still moving. Although it was difficult, he still used his speed crazily to quickly escape from the shock area controlled by Jia Yan. As long as he leaves this area, it will be extremely difficult to catch Jia Yan unless he enters the subspace to pursue him. But that would cause a group of controlled subordinates here to be released, and there would still be creatures escaping, conveying Jia Yan's strength. Neither of these results is what Jia Yan wants to see, so at this moment, he must hunt down the controller. Your Excellency, since you want to fight with me, do you actually want to escape? Just stay with me. Jia Yan silently flew directly towards the moth-like controller creature, and as he moved, the group of creatures behind him actually seemed to be struggling. Fortunately, Jia Yan had already mastered the ability to use this concussive power while moving. At this time performance was more difficult, but fortunately, the group of creatures that had been controlled did not feel that they could move. Sir, there is no deep hatred between you and me. Why don't we shake hands and make peace this time? You will still stay here in the future. I will not report your news. Likewise, just don't hurt us. How about it? We will look forward to it in the future. Huh, do you think I'll believe it? Jia Yan really wants this group of creatures to obey him, and it will be good if there is no trouble in the future, but it is completely impossible for him to believe this kind of thing. After all, he has killed so many creatures here. What he wants to do at this moment is to kill all the non-beetle creatures here, so that the news about him here can be exposed as soon as possible. Another enemy discovered that after he had been strengthened with a large amount of materials for a period of time, his strength might become stronger in the future, and he would no longer be afraid of retaliation. What's more, Jia Yan doesn't want to stay in this city forever. As long as the materials here are not enough to make him stronger, he will definitely leave with a slap on the butt. How can he stay here stupidly with those people? Do native creatures fight you to death? So all he wants is time. Asshole, I am the controller. You, a puny outsider, actually want to kill me. Let me tell you, I have just informed other controller friends around me to come over. You should be wise and run away quickly, otherwise I will wait until when they arrive, you will die without a burial. Seeing that Jia Yan was chasing fast, the moth creature was getting closer and closer to the controller's body even if he didn't use his subspace talent. The controller was injured and could not speed up for the time being. So he was so angry that he seemed to be yelling. However, Jia Yan was very keenly aware that this guy must be thinking about something, and his eyes kept looking at the surrounding scenery. Oh, no matter who you are calling, if you come here to deal with me first today, then don't even think about leaving. Jia Yan didn't care what kind of controller this was. Anyway, for him, if it was destroyed, it would be destroyed. At worst, he would take a risk. After escaping into the subspace, he would directly drill into the deep twisted land and see if he could return to the original normal universe. By then, will the creatures in this world chase them to another universe? Of course, if they can also enter the depths of the subspace, Jia Yan is really a little scared, but this is impossible, at least among the creatures Jia Yan saw, none of them even know the subspace. Let alone being able to follow the subspace and enter the galaxy where Jia Yan is located. Die. When the controller finally understood that he had no chance to escape, he went crazy. Moving towards Jia Yan, he launched another attack, seemingly hysterical with all his strength. But Jia Yan still saw a hint of cunning in the eyes of this moth creature. He suddenly laughed in his heart, knowing what the moth creature was planning. He was planning to let Jia Yan fight back, and then use the power of Jia Yan's collision to speed up his escape. If Jia Yan followed his wishes, he might actually succeed. But if Jia Yan sees his plan, will he still follow his wishes? Impossible. Puff. Jia Yan actually did the opposite and instantly entered the subspace under the astonishment of the controller creature. At another moment, the creatures over there, the figures that were unable to move just now, were able to move again in an instant. Run. At this second, this thought flashed through the minds of all living creatures. But it was a pity that as soon as this thought crossed their minds, they all wanted to escape quickly. Buzz. Another wave of the same brainwave power vibrated in the surrounding space, suppressing them. It only took a short time for Jia Yan to enter the subspace, and then he appeared next to the moth controller. Although he only entered the subspace for a moment, the attack of the controller creature was actually dodged by Jia Yan. Puff. One front foot pierced the moth creature's chest. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1506. Ah, this This outsider actually killed the controller. It's just audacious. Don't be so bold. He even dares to kill the controller. Aren't we in more danger here? Run away. Puff. The creature that just said it wanted to escape was instantly killed by a beetle creature. Well, why can't we move? One by one, ordinary creatures were killed by the 4 beetle creatures temporarily belonging to Jia Yan in an instant without any possibility of counterattack. For them, even if these 4 creatures were stronger than them, they were not that much stronger, but now they were killed under the hands of these 4 creatures without even the slightest possibility of counterattack. To them, this is like seeing the greatest sorrow in the world, because they were not killed by the strong, and being killed by the strong would be acceptable, but they were killed by a group of beings who were almost as powerful as them, and they were not the level of killing that belongs to a big war is unacceptable in the heart of any strong creature. But he couldn't accept it and had no choice. These creatures were still going to die. Puff puff. Haha, I actually killed this Tutuo, I actually killed him. I think about how powerful he was in front of me back then, but now I killed him in an instant. Among the 4 beetle creatures, one seemed to be crazy and laughed out loud. This is like something unbelievable to them. After all, the creatures they are killing in 1 or 2 strikes are actually extremely powerful to them, and some are even stronger than them together. Be strong. But with Jia Yan's help, they killed them instantly without any effort. These 4 beetle creatures seemed to have tasted the most enjoyable delicacies in the world. They could easily kill existences that were similar to or more terrifying than their own strength. For them, it was as if they were opening a new door. What a door! Yes, everything was brought to us by that adult. If we work under him, can we get more than this in the future? The 4 beetle creatures, facing Jia Yan, who was hundreds of kilometers away, slowly pierced the moth creature with its mouthparts and began to suck blood. Their eyes burst out with a strange light. Jia Yan here has never thought about the thoughts of this group of creatures, because to him, these subordinates are just recruiting them casually, and if they are disobedient, they will naturally be killed, but if you are obedient, you will not burn bridges. So Jia Yan doesn't think much about their ideas at all. Huh? The blood of this moth creature is completely useless. Jia Yan pierced the body of the moth creature, and although the needle sucked some of the blood, it didn't seem to gain the slightest benefit. It seems that among the creatures in this world, only the giants, or those with similar strength to the giants, can be helpful to me. Jia Yan thought about this silently, and pulled out his needle directly from the body of this huge moth creature. Asshole, stop it! When Jia Yan had just pulled out his mouthparts from the body of the moth creature, a shocking roar sounded like an explosion from the grass in the distance. Jia Yan was slightly startled. Then he turned his gaze away. In that distant place, several creatures were seen soaring into the sky towards Jia Yan's place at extremely fast speeds. Huh? This speed is not slow. Could it be that another strong person has arrived? Jia Yan was slightly surprised. You must know that when he just killed the controller, he had already said that he had asked for help. If he guessed correctly, what came here would definitely not be an ordinary creature nearby, but what the controller had just said to the rescue. It came quite quickly, but it's a pity that they arrived late. Jia Yan thought lightly, and then increased the power of his brain waves. The 4 beetle creatures who were still killing a group of creatures suddenly felt that the creatures that had a trace of resistance, although they could not move, could still use a trace of energy to resist their attack. At this moment, there was no resistance at all. Poof! These beetle creatures quickly killed these creatures one by one in an instant. Huh? Who's coming over there? The 4 beetle creatures, after breathing a sigh of relief, had a slight observation of the creatures coming from Jia Yan's side. What? They are actually the other 2 controllers of the huge territory around them, this and this. As soon as Jia De saw the approaching creature, his demeanor changed drastically. When Jia Yan was over there, he felt that Jia seemed to know the other party's name, so he immediately retreated into the subspace before those big creatures came. When he appeared again, he was already beside Jia. This weird way of appearing and moving speed made me personally experience Jia Yan's magical armor for the first time. My heart tightened for a moment, and then relaxed again. Yes, no matter how terrifying the other party is, there is also a terrifying strong man on their side who still doesn't know where the limit of strength is. Do you know them? Sir, I know them, and they are also famous around here. They and the moth creature you killed just now belong to the same controller, and one of them is stronger than the one you killed just now. More than twice as scary. Yin Yin is the most terrifying controller around us. Controller. Jia Yan looked at the flying creatures from a distance. There were two big beings inside. He knew at a glance that they were extremely terrifying. He immediately knew that these two creatures were the two controllers that the Jia said. Their strength, compared to other creatures on the side, is like the light of a lighthouse, extremely dazzling. The other party was also like Jia Yan. At this moment, he saw the existence of Jia Yan. Because the few beetle creatures on his side have no sense of strength no matter how you look at them, but Jia Yan is different. There is a terrible pressure on him that only beings like them know. Huh? That guy is actually dead. He was killed within a short time of us arriving. Is it because his strength has become weaker recently, or is this opponent too strong? The two approaching creatures looked at each other, and then a solemn look appeared in their eyes. They came here to rescue, but when they arrived, they found that not only the controller moth, but also the ordinary strong men in that place were all dead at this moment. For them, it was like being a step too late. Watching the enemy kill their comrades was not a good feeling. Your Excellency, is this all your fault? Dare I ask, can you give us an explanation for all this? One of the two creatures asked a question first, and the other took a big step forward. Even though they both knew that Jia Yan's strength was probably not that simple, out of their confidence in their own strength, neither of them had any confidence. It means showing weakness to Jia Yan. In their opinion, if Jia Yan is strong, then they will have a showdown with the opponent. If they can't defeat him, they will wait and call more people. But if Jia Yan's strength is not as strong as they imagined, the two of them will team up with several subordinates behind them to directly destroy the creature that dares to kill a controller. The coordinated drinking and striding of these two people was their first step in testing. If Jia Yan showed any fear, they would directly launch a violent attack. But will Jia Yan be affected by their gesture? Totally impossible. Jia Yan's eyes flashed with light of thought towards the two approaching creatures. For him, the situation at this time was beyond his expectation. After all, his idea was to survive here for a while after killing the moth creature. As long as no one brought this matter up, he would definitely be able to stay here for a while longer. But now there are actually two more controllers around. Jia Yan still doesn't know what kind of communication methods they have. Originally, he didn't see any special communication methods in this world, so he thought that the communication capabilities in this world were not strong. But now it seems that this communication method is not strong enough. There are still ways. Whether he can fight these two creatures is another matter. Even if he defeats them, what happens next? They will also directly call for help. Jia Yan is not afraid of one or two, but more, and even creatures that are much stronger than the creatures in front of him, and even have different levels. Can he still fight them off? In other words, it is not certain whether his subspace talent can escape. Jia Yan has a deep understanding of the power of this world. Your Excellencies, this moth creature attacked me brazenly and didn't even give me a chance to explain. Do you want to be like him and attack me directly? Jia Yan's words caused the expressions of the two controllers who wanted to take action to change slightly. They looked at each other. At this moment, they knew that Jia Yan had given up. So were they attacking? But from the eyes of this flying creature, they did not see any fear of their two powerful men. So do they attack or not? The two of them didn't know much about Jia Yan's strength, but they knew that Jia Yan could kill the moth creature, even if his strength was about the same as theirs at worst. Especially when Jia Yan showed in front of them the ability to suddenly disappear and then reappear in a very far away place, they felt even more troubled by Jia Yan. Defeating Jia Yan is nothing, but how to prevent him from escaping. If Jia Yan, a creature that dared to kill their controller, used that ability to escape, could they stop him? After these two questions lingered in the minds of the two controllers for a while, they discovered that they could not stop Jia Yan at all. Huh, Your Excellency, you said that the moth didn't give you a chance to explain. We believe this, because a controller does not need to give any explanation to kill any creature in his own territory, but you want to, it's your fault to kill him instead. Since you have the ability to kill moths, we will give you a chance. If you can become the controller of this territory, all your previous actions will be wiped out. All this requires you to go to the largest gathering place of controllers in our nearby territory and accept the test of several of our controllers. It can be completed, but I don't know if you dare or not. The two controllers analyzed instantly that they could not defeat Jia Yan. At this moment, their expressions were gloomy, but they still revealed their conspiracy. This conspiracy is to let Jia Yan accept their test. Maybe when he gets there, what awaits Jia Yan will be besieged by a group of controllers. Oh, will you accept your test and become the controller of this territory? At this moment, Jia Yan was a little surprised and confused by the conspiracy that the two masters suddenly revealed. The reaction of the two controllers was indeed relatively fast, and they did not even have any idea of trying Jia Yan's skills. So is Jia Yan Tiao not going to jump into this pit? If he doesn't jump, Jia Yan will definitely retreat, because even if Jia Yan can defeat or even kill these two great beings, he can still face the controllers who are coming continuously. Jia Yan definitely cannot defeat them all. Because his current strength is definitely stronger than that of ordinary controllers, but once several major controllers join forces, he will definitely be defeated. But Jia Yan was unwilling to leave this area. Because he just heard that in this territory, there are certain energy foods that the giant clan occasionally abandons. To the giant clan, these are energy things. For him, Jia Yan, they may be a great supplement thing. If they can accept their test, they won't attack Jia Yan? In other words, what if in that place of testing, a being whose strength far exceeds Jia Yan's appears? You four, do you know what this test is? Jia Yan suddenly turned around and quietly asked the four beetle creatures. Compared with the enemy's two major controllers, Jia Yan still trusts his four temporary subordinates a little more. Sir, the test usually takes place in a territory. After a being who challenges the controller appears, he goes to the place where he goes. Our territory is a testing place, and it is also a gathering place for the controllers around him. But more importantly, the master who is far away will not come. So, how many controllers are there in this gathering place, and who is the most powerful among them? Sir, I estimate that there are only 15 or 16 controllers of our gathering place. The strongest among them is the one over there. His strength is about twice that of the average controller. Maybe even stronger. Sir, I advise you not to go, after all, two fists cannot defeat four hands. /U003C/content/U003E Still looking for the free novel Rebirth of the Starry Sky Giant Mosquito? Search directly on Baidu. Reading Joy read 250,000 popular novels for free. Read for pleasure, read for pleasure. Read for pleasure. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1507. Jia felt a little unsure as to whether Jia Yan would go to the place where the controllers gathered, but he did not want Jia Yan to go, because if Jia Yan went, he would definitely either die or be seriously injured and escape. Then the 4 remaining brothers would be doomed. Oh, there's no one stronger than that guy there. After Jia Yan heard these words, he already had a certain conclusion in his mind. To him, all this is like a gamble. If he loses, the strongest person there will be the one who comes. No matter how many other strong people there are, Jia Yan has thought about relying on himself. With his subspace talent, it shouldn't be a problem to escape. So at this moment, for Jia Yan, he was preparing to go to the assessment place. I have decided, you guys, if I take part in your so-called assessment, and as long as I pass it, then I will become the legitimate controller here, right? Jia Yan asked calmly. Yes, Your Excellency, if you want to avoid being hunted down by our controller organization, this is the best thing to do. Among the coming creatures, the strongest one nodded to Jia Yan. Okay, then I'll go take part in the assessment. Jia Yan seemed to be completely indifferent to what this strong man said, and he actually agreed. Sir, you can't go. You must have been surrounded and killed by them. Jia De said it was completely unacceptable that Jia Yan actually wanted to go to that controller gathering place. You have no reason to refute the decision I made, but you 4 don't have to go. Jia Yan said calmly. When Jia Yan said that the 4 brothers didn't need to go, these 4 creatures suddenly stopped talking. Especially Jia Er, whose foot was broken by Jia Yan, was even more happy. He even thought at this moment that Jia Yan died directly at the hands of the controller, which was what he wanted most. However, the other beetle creatures were confused at this moment, because they knew that if Jia Yan went to the gathering place of those controllers, it would definitely be in bad luck, but after Jia Yan died, they would have another chance. What's the end? The answer is that there will definitely be no good end. Their choice is either to beg for mercy, but it should be difficult to escape death, or to start fleeing. In this city, there should be no way to escape the pursuit of the alliance of controllers. So they had no choice but to help Jia Yan, even if they were forced to do so, but there was no way to deny the fact that they had killed so many strong men in the territory, so they would have to suffer the consequences. Since Your Excellency is willing to go with us, then let's go. The 2 controllers seemed a little surprised by Jia Yan's agreement. At this moment, they were even wondering if Jia Yan was a little stupid. In fact, the most powerful controller wanted to disrupt Jia Yan's mind when he said these words, but he didn't expect that Jia Yan didn't doubt anything and wanted to go with them. This made the controller have some doubts about Jia Yan's mind. But he doesn't care about Jia Yan's mind. As long as Jia Yan agrees to go with them to the gathering place of the controllers, they just need to notify a group of controllers and come to surround and kill this guy. Then they will leave him alone. Are you stupid? Why talk about this after you are dead? Walk. Jia Yan smiled slightly. How could he not know the controller's plan? But all the plans and calculations are nothing in the face of strength. Jia Yan believed that with his own strength, even if he couldn't defeat these creatures, he would definitely have the ability to escape, so at this moment, he didn't think that he would die in that gathering place. The 4 beetle creatures behind them looked at each other and did not dare to follow. For them, being dragged here by Jia Yan to fight once, even if Jia Yan's performance made them completely feel that Jia Yan's strength was definitely more than what he had just shown, they would not feel that Jia Yan's strength was beyond what he had just shown. Yanzhen will have that terrifying ability to fight alone in that place where the controllers gather. Even if the adults have that kind of ability, they certainly can't protect us. Once we pass, it's just a drag. Jia De said this to the brothers around him. The other beetle creatures all knew this, but it seemed a bit unkind to say it, so they all fell silent. In fact, their current mentality is completely unnecessary for Jia Yan. Even if he goes there by himself, he may not be able to escape unscathed. The combat power of these few beetle creatures is not comparable to that of a controller. Of course, he doesn't want them to go there, otherwise he will have to take care of them when the time comes, and Jia Yan, in other words, it is a hindrance. Under such circumstances, Jia Yan slowly began to understand the composition of the city. In these two battles, Jia Yan slowly got a clear idea of the status of the controller and the hierarchy among this group of creatures. The giants must come first, but they still have their own internal hierarchy in the city. The giants, who have less status, still live a miserable life in the city. And next, there is this alliance of controllers. They must have relatively terrifying people, and it is even possible that they can talk to giants. Otherwise, how could the giants allow such an alliance of alien creatures to exist in the city of the giants? Inside. Of course, the ability of this dialogue does not mean that they can fight against the giants, but that it is possible to have strength below the giants in the city. Only in this way can the giants rest assured that they can fight against the giants in the city. All living things are entrusted to the management of this alliance. Jia Yan has no real intention of taking action head-on with this alliance. Next, Jia Yan's idea was indeed verified. Because he arrived at the lair of the moth creature that he had just killed. And this lair is actually built in the yard of a giant clan. It is even completely above board. The giant clan will definitely not say that they can't see it. But just like that, it still existed, and it was not smashed or kicked out by the giants as a junk box or the lair of other monsters. This means that Jia Yan's guess just now is completely correct. This alliance actually has the ability to compromise with the giants. This is that guy's lair. If you can pass our test, it will be your home in the future. Look, we have no intention of touching the things inside. Anyway, the moth is just one of us. The weakest and the least wealthy will have nothing left of him to you. The two controllers seemed to feel that they were sure to take over Jia Yan, so they took Jia Yan to the moth creature's house, looked at the appearance of the house, and then said that if Jia Yan could, with their approval, you can come here and occupy this house. When Jia Yan saw the moth creature's house, he couldn't help but feel moved. You must know that even if he has seen the house of the giant family, to Jia Yan, that house is no different from a planet. In addition to the huge house, the moth creature's house he saw now seemed like the first time he had seen such a huge single building since he became huge. You must know that the Edisha he was in before was already an extremely large spaceship, with the head and tail measuring a full 20 kilometers. But the huge house in front of me is completely beyond the reach of the Edisha. It covers an area of at least several hundred kilometers. When Jia Yan is in it, it doesn't feel like he's in the home of the Edisha or some other creature. It's very small, but it feels like he's in a real house. Very suitable for his residence. If we put aside the dangers of this world and the power of creatures, in terms of comfort, Jia Yan still likes it here. Very good, I'm looking forward to this test more. Let's go there. Oh, Your Excellency, Jia Yan is quite brave. The two controller creatures already knew Jia Yan's name from the road they were walking together. Of course, Jia Yan also knew their names. This is nothing worth hiding. The area where the controller gathering area is located is almost 500,000 kilometers away from this place. Let's go there quickly. A group of creatures quickened their pace. Behind them, in the house of the giant family, the child of the giant family seemed to be completely fascinated by the battle they just saw. Wow, it's so interesting. That little insect killed a group of insects by himself. It's so powerful. I want to follow him and have a look. They will definitely fight more after him. The little giant looked surprised for a while. Although he had often watched the battles of the insects in his eyes before, there was never such an enjoyable time as this time. After all, a battle at the controller level is not easy to happen, and this child used to live in Zihao Forest. There were not many strong people who had reached the controller level there, so it was even less likely to see such a powerful one. Bug out. The child told his mother, then walked in the direction where Jia Yan and the others left, and followed them step by step. For the giants, 500,000 kilometers is too close, as if a person on Earth has crossed a street or two. Their speed was very fast. Jia Yan moved quickly, but was caught up by the child. Faintly, the child's mother could be heard yelling and cursing loudly behind her. "You damn kid, you only know how to watch bugs fight every day, but you don't know how to do serious business. When you grow up, you will be as useless as your father." That's right, in the eyes of the giants, creatures of Jia Yan's level are just bugs, with no power to even pose a serious threat to them. Just like what the mother explained just now, the only thing she worries about is whether her child will get bugs flying into his eyes, which is also troublesome for the giant. But that's it, even creatures at the level of the controller may not be able to cause any major harm to a child of the giant race. At most, it can only be as much damage as a needle prick. The child chased after him, and Jia Yan and others in front looked back. "Why is this giant from the giant clan chasing us? Could it be that, Mr. Jia Yan, you actually dragged a giant to escape?" The strongest among the controllers was a creature called Zheng Tang. He looked at Jia Yan with great fear. If Jia Yan actually had a giant clan as his backing, then it would be impossible for them to dare to do anything to Jia Yan. Because the giants are the absolute strongest in the city, no other creature, or any other alliance, dares to say anything against the words of the giants. Even though the existence of this giant clan is just a child, to them, this is an unstoppable great god. "Back up? Oh, sir, I have never had any backing. This kid from the giant family will chase us, probably because he is curious about us." Jia Yan looked at the children of the giant family behind him and felt a little strange. This little guy was actually interested in their group of tiny creatures. Is it possible that this child wants to be an insect researcher in the future? Of course, this is just a joke made by Jia Yan. He actually understands this child quite well, because as a human being, he once tracked and watched insects on the earth for a long time. That bug is not as interesting as their fight. "I guess you can't climb up to such an existence to back you up, okay, let's go." Although the two major controllers did not believe that Jia Yan could have any close relationship with a giant, now that they heard Jia Yan say so in person, they instantly felt relieved. If Jia Yan really has anything to do with the existence of a giant clan, even if the existence of this giant clan is just a child, they will definitely have a headache. After all, they are just a small branch of the alliance of controllers. It's just a tribe, and it doesn't have the real energy to confront a giant clan head-on. In that case, they would never dare to attack Jia Yan. Fortunately, they could clearly hear the meaning of Jia Yan's words. Several large creatures moved forward quickly. Even though the speed of this advance seemed ordinary to the children of the giant family on the side, they still moved forward extremely fast. Finally, the child followed a group of them and came to a small empty flat. And this Kongping is a gathering place opened by all the controllers nearby with the permission of the giants. Of course, in normal times, this would be a place for the children of the giant family to play. If the controllers want to use such a huge area, they must first discuss it with the children's families, and they must pay a certain price. Otherwise, they would never dare to compete with the children of the giant family for territory. There happened to be no children playing here today. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1508. Let's go, our gathering building is over there. We have notified all the controllers around us who can come. It depends on whether you, Mr. Jia Yan, can pass our assessment. After the two masters took Jia Yan there, they sneered even more. Because they seemed to have seen the scene where Jia Yan would be completely torn apart by them later. "Your Excellency, are you here? Is this the target of our assessment? Haha, the guy who killed the moth is quite brave." Before Jia Yan and the two controllers arrived at the area, there were sounds from the huge building in the corner. It seems that they have no hidden murderous intention or hostility towards Jia Yan. But Jia Yan was not surprised. He had indeed understood the thoughts of the two masters just now. At this moment, he also knew that when he came here, he almost felt like a sheep falling into a tiger's mouth. Of course, this feeling is actually not true for Jia Yan. In short, people must think that Jia Yan is seeking death, and they must think that Jia Yan is destined to die. But Jia Yan himself would never think so. The children of the giant clan at the rear also followed this area. To him, this place was not as dangerous as Jia Yan, an area that was about to be besieged by the opponent, but to him, this place was just a child. It's just a place where we get together and play. Haha, it turns out there is such a big bug house here. It's so big. The child was amazed. Because in front of his steps, there was a house that was almost as tall as one of his ankles. You must know that for a teenage boy of the giant family, his ankles are high enough, at least as high as 100 kilometers, but there is actually a house built by a worm here, reaching as high as his ankles. Of course he is extremely of consternation. But for him, this house is still not big. But to Jia Yan, this house is big. It's as big as an asteroid. This world is simply. He was extremely emotional. If there was such a building in the outside world, it would definitely be a very majestic and well-known building, but in this world, it is just a large building as high as the ankles of a child of the giant family. Of course, this building is scary enough in the eyes of a small insect-like creature like Jia Yan. How big should the house be inside when it's hundreds of kilometers away? Jia Yan was thinking about the size of the house, but if he didn't see anything with his own eyes, he would definitely not be shocked. When he saw it with his own eyes, he was really shocked. In front of Jia Yan, there is a room as big as a small planet, which is hundreds of kilometers high and covers an area of hundreds of kilometers. Even in the eyes of a giant, there must be nothing that tall, but for Jia Yan, this space is too big. But Jia Yan's attention was only on the house for a while, and soon turned to a group of creatures in front of him. It's quite a big scene. I originally thought that there must not be many controllers like this, but after actually seeing it, Jia Yan knew that there were quite a few of these people. There are a total of 11 controller creatures, plus the 2 controllers who came with Jia Yan. Here, there are a total of 13 existences with the same strength as the moth creature. Most of these creatures are insect-like creatures like Jia Yan, but there are also some rhinoceros-like creatures, plus a few birds-like creatures. You killed the moth, right? That's good. Anyway, I think he was unhappy for a long time. But you killed him. As the controllers, we still have to help each other as a group, so either you will be killed by us today, or you will pass our assessment here and become one of us. In this case, we will not kill you. A creature that seemed to have good strength came to Jia Yan and said this to Jia Yan. Behind Jia Yan, the controller of the strongest person in the area named Zhengtang flashed his eyes and did not say anything about the creature. He was not unhappy about it. Judging from his performance, it was clear that even if the creature did not the strength to reach this level is definitely not much different. Originally, when the group of controllers looked at Jia Yan, they thought that this being who dared to kill one of them would definitely be extremely frightened. But after they looked carefully, they suddenly discovered it. Jia Yan actually didn't show any emotion after being affected by the positive momentum of the second strongest among them. Your Excellency, I killed that moth, which is indeed an insult to you. However, I apologize to you. Now let me try it. What are your assessment requirements and what are the contents? Jia Yan seemed to be businesslike and asked directly what he wanted to ask, as if he wasn't scared at all. Huh? To be so calm. A group of controllers were a little surprised by Jia Yan's attitude. Generally speaking, a creature that can be so calm in front of a group of controllers is either a being whose strength far exceeds theirs and is not afraid of being attacked by them, or a being whose brain is rusty and has no idea how to die. In their opinion, Jia Yan's strength is definitely not that strong, so he should belong to the first type. The brain is sick. Humph, you can try it if you want, but for those of you who killed our controllers and came to participate in the assessment, we will make it more difficult. Just don't say we are unfair then. Fair. When Jia Yan heard these words, he suddenly felt funny. He shook his head indifferently. In this world, there is no fairness at all. It's just the strong and the weak. If you want to kill me, you can just swarm me now. I want to try to see if you, the controller, are such a person who doesn't keep his word. Jia Yan said calmly. In fact, he was not really afraid that this group of creatures would besiege him, but he also wanted to avoid this happening, because he knew after seeing them that even if he fought with all his strength, he might not be able to beat this group of creatures. Although he could successfully escape, he still had this confidence, otherwise he would not have dared to come. But there was no point in running away, otherwise he wouldn't be able to keep the territory he had just conquered. So now he is using words to see if this group of so-called controllers will really follow the rules and be fair as they say. Of course, this is fair to a certain extent. There should not be many friendly people towards the moth, otherwise Jia Yan would definitely be attacked. Fortunately, the major controllers looked at each other and nodded one by one. Okay, if that's the case, then we will conduct an assessment on you. As long as you can pass our assessment, you will be able to inherit the moth's territory. Zheng Tang finally made such a decision. Even though he originally wanted to kill Jia Yan as soon as he came to their gathering point of controllers, he changed his mind after seeing a child of the giant family behind Jia Yan. Because the child seemed to be somewhat interested in the battle on their side, he was not sure whether this child of the giant clan had anything to do with Jia Yan. If so, they would not dare to really kill him. Jia Yan. Therefore, a group of controllers immediately stood apart from Jia Yan. This building is big, but it is actually just one room, and there may be some caves inside. However, there is nothing in the room at this time, and the objects are not displayed, so at a glance, it turns out to be a good battle room. Okay, you are going to kill our controllers and then test the controllers' creatures. Then the test you are going to conduct is to fight the 2 controllers in the first game, and the 3 controllers in the second game, and so on. Go to game 5 and you're playing 6 of us. First game, let's begin. Jia Yan listened to the words of the people on the other side and knew that they should be telling the truth. In the first battle, 2 major controllers fought. Jia Yan looked at their strength. They should be about the same strength as the moth creature. Among these controllers, they were almost the weakest in strength. With such strength, Jia Yan looked around and felt that he should hold back. You can kill moths, which means you are stronger than either of us. But if our 2 masters join forces, you will definitely not be able to fight against us. Oh, now that we've reached this point, you 2 sirs, don't have to use words to play tricks on me, right? Jia Yan revealed their plan. After all, being able to kill moths is not just as powerful as moths. Maybe it is much stronger than moths. They actually said directly that Jia Yan, the 2 major controllers, couldn't beat him. This is just a mental battle. Jia Yan dared to be so confident and wanted to take the controller test, and it was such a desperate test. They actually thought that Jia Yan couldn't beat the 2 of them. This is not in line with common sense at all, so speaking of it, it is just a mental battle. When the other party sees Jia Yan, he won't get angry or anything because of their words. He will only smile slightly. After all, everyone knows that for a truly strong person, such a psychological battle has no effect. At this moment, the 2 masters exploded in strength and attacked Jia Yan. On the sidelines, a group of controllers were already watching the scene in front of them silently. Tell me, what is this Jia Yan's name? How far can it get through? Haha, we still need to think about which level he can pass. Even if he can pass the 2-person barrier this time, he will only be able to pass the next 3-person barrier. Do you still think that he can pass it? The 3-person mark cannot be achieved. I don't know who came up with this kind of test to pass the level. It must be some big shot in our alliance. But until now, how many people have been able to pass it? Although such people are all, he is a very talented person, but generally speaking, trying to break through such a level is almost equivalent to a death sentence, right? Oh, who says it's not the case, but in history, there are some beings with good talents and combat abilities who actually pass this level. It is said that the current leader of our alliance of controllers passed this level back then. It's a checkpoint, so it's not useless to set up such an assessment. It's just that there have been too few people who have been able to pass it in history, which has led to the fact that in the eyes of ordinary passers-by, this type of assessment is almost synonymous with death. Several controllers are unable to face the current Jia Yan assessment. No one believes that he will pass this level. Even if he passes the first level, he will fail the second level. As for the third level, almost no one would think he could get through. No one would even believe that he could pass the third level, let alone the fourth and fifth levels. Even if Jia Yan's strength and talent reached an extremely terrifying level that none of them could believe, it was absolutely impossible to pass the fifth level, because the fifth level involved the 6 most powerful controllers present. Even including the main hall and the second most powerful controller who just spoke. The 2 of them are much stronger than ordinary controllers, so for Jia Yan, even if he is lucky enough to break through at the 5th level, death is definitely the result. Okay, let's see how far he can survive. I hope we all have a chance to take action. We haven't had a serious battle for a long time, so it's time to warm up. Several controllers were watching the battle scene with smiles. On the field, after Jia Yan saw through the conspiracy of the 2 masters, the battle started directly. The 2 sides suddenly hit each other for the first time. Jia Yan did not use his subspace talent, but at this moment, he conducted a physical battle with 2 powerful men in this world against the 2 controllers that he had never done before. You must know that Jia Yan rarely fights hand to hand. His body is strong enough, but because he has too many tricks, it is not that Jia Yan does not have the conditions for hand-to-hand fighting, but that he does not have the need. But now he is pretending. Pretend to be a good melee fighter. Moreover, Jin had too much experience in fighting in the past. At this moment, it was not impossible to pretend to be a master of hand-to-hand combat. Huh? Although this Jia Yan is also powerful, it is a bit different from what I imagined. The first moment when the 2 sides attacked each other, they were evenly matched, except that Jia Yan seemed to be slightly ahead of the opponent. But the main hall was extremely curious, and was deeply surprised by Jia Yan's fighting power at this time. Because to him, Jia Yan had no fear in front of him just now, so he thought that even if Jia Yan didn't have his strength, he was definitely close to him. So with the 2 controllers joining forces, even if it takes some effort, but it's definitely not that strenuous. So he was extremely surprised. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1509. But after thinking about it, he still shook his head, thinking that Jia Yan was probably a member of a fledgling animal family, so he had dared to speak so brazenly against him before, but his true strength was only at this level. Thinking of this, he laughed to himself. He was laughing at himself for thinking that Jia Yan was a strong man. Bang! When he thought this, the battle over there suddenly came to an end. The 2 controllers were like 2 pieces of rags, instantly facing backwards and being knocked away by a single blow. What? This. The group of controllers all felt incredible at this moment. How long had it been since then? How could it be that in the blink of an eye, the two controllers, even though they were weaker than them, but not much weaker, were actually defeated like this? Moreover, when the two powerful men attacked, they were defeated by the being named Jia Yan with one blow. This shocked them so much. After all, the strength of these two controllers, even if they are weak, is definitely at the controller level, and they are strong men who can sit in a land a million kilometers away. But in Jia Yan's hands, they were like two weak men. One blow from Jia Yan actually hit the two strong men, and they both flew backwards together, completely defeated. Haha, the strength of the two your excellencies is indeed strong, but it seems that I should be superior in skill. Jia Yan's voice sounded faintly in the air. He actually didn't win so easily just now because Jia Yan used his blue defense. For Jia Yan, blue defense is like his trump card. Even at his current level, blue defense is his absolute defense. This defense has been improving as his level increases, and every time it was a defense that exceeded his level. As long as you rely on the power of this defense and add sharp attack feed to your body, it is relatively simple to break through the defenses of the two controllers. The two masters also wanted to carry out a direct suppressive attack on Jia Yan. If they changed their fighting method and fought with Jia Yan, they probably would not lose so miserably. Of course, if you lose, you lose. If they knew everything in advance, it would be a no-brainer. Humph, it's the turn of the three of us in the second round. Your Excellency Jia Yan, although our strength is not much stronger than those two excellencies, we are three people, so you have to be careful. On the sidelines, the other three creatures looked at the two creatures that were knocked away. They all suffered moderate injuries. At this moment, their faces looked ugly. Bring it on. Jia Yan was not too afraid of their words. He still didn't believe that he could defeat these two powerful men quickly. The three controllers will be much more powerful than the two controllers. Superior. The three masters divided into three directions and suddenly attacked Jia Yan's location. These three major controllers already know that Jia Yan's strength must not be underestimated, and they are also careful enough. Therefore, Jia Yan spent a lot of effort in this battle. He first dodged an attack from the front, and then dodged a foot attack from behind. But he couldn't avoid a long beard that attacked his side. This long-bearded creature used its beard to attack the attacker. It looked like a whip, making Jia Yan unable to defend himself. Fortunately, the attack of this whip seemed to be extremely fast, but after Jia Yan quickly activated the blue defense, it was still blocked on the outside of his body. It's this kind of defense. You have to be careful. He can make his feet appear blue, which makes his feet very sharp and difficult for us to defend against. It was this kind of blue that we lost just now. Under the stage, the faces of the two controllers who had just been defeated instantly turned cold. They were defeated by Jia Yan in one blow, which was like a great humiliation to them. But when they looked back and thought about it, they also felt that they were a little resentful for losing, because the strength that Jia Yan was showing now was not at the level that could defeat their two masters with one blow. They just used Jia Yan's that's just the mysterious blue defense. So they were down there, reminding Jia Yan of his defense against the three powerful men in the battle. So it turns out that the defensive power is actually used as a method of attack. This is an extremely magical move. If we didn't know it, we might really lose to you. Among the three powerful men, the one who seemed to talk more was slightly surprised by the defensive power displayed by Jia Yan, and then became indifferent. You must know that there are too many strong people in this world, and every strong person has his or her own unique way of fighting. As for Jia Yan's moves and routines that make him physically strong, they have seen countless of them. Therefore, these powerful men all believe that if Jia Yan only relies on this move, now they already know that the three powerful men will definitely not be tricked by Jia Yan's excellent defense again. Of course, Jia Yan's defense is a bit scary, but there must be a way to defeat them. No matter how hard it is, grind it slowly. No matter how powerful the defense is, it will not be able to withstand a battle where you can only defend but not fight back. Of course, this is only possible if both parties are of similar strength. Jia Yan's strength, at least as shown now, is similar to that of these creatures. Even if he is strong, he is not as strong as the strongest controller. Unless Jia Yan conceals his strength, the three of them will join forces. Jia Yan definitely can't hide. No, this guy seems to have the kind of move that suddenly disappears and reappears among the moves we saw before. Suddenly, the man on the other side of the hall asked the other controller who had just gone to support the moth creature with him. Yes, we seem to have seen him using some very strange flash-like ability. But don't think too much about it. Maybe there are any restrictions on the use of that move. After all, it is being used in front of us. Skills that can act like magic should not exist. That's right. He doesn't even use it in this kind of battle. He probably used it just now because he had some unique skills. The Zhengtang, the strongest among these controllers, nodded silently. This situation was also reasonable. After all, if Jia Yan really had such a terrifying flash-like skill, why didn't he use it now? In their opinion, if Jia Yan has any trump card, he should use it now, because even if he wants to conceal his strength, he can still spend time with the three masters little by little. Even if he can conceal his strength, you will definitely lose a lot of physical fitness, and then you will lose the next game. There is no need to hide your strength, because it will be useless. But they obviously don't know that Jia Yan is an evolved beast. One of the talents of the evolved beast is that it is extremely physically strong. Puff. Suddenly, another one of the four powerful men fighting in the sky attacked Jia Yan. There are more and more blue colors on Jia Yan's body. In Jia Yan's view, each of these three master opponents is not weaker than the top mid-level star-level creature from the outside world. The three powerful men with such strength jointly attacked Jia Yan. In terms of close combat, Jia Yan it's really not their opponent. But that's it, Jia Yan's defensive power is not something they can break through casually. Damn it, this guy's defense has actually reached such a level. The more we fight, the bluer he becomes. The defense of the three controller creatures against Jia Yan was simply amazing. If three people hadn't faced Jia Yan, they thought that even if their strength could surpass Jia Yan's, but if they really encountered each other in the outside world, they would definitely be the ones running away in the end. Because of this kind of defense, one person would definitely be able to defeat Jia Yan. It's not broken. But now there is not one person, but three major controllers. At this time, they are extremely confident in themselves, because no matter how strong the defense is, there is no attack power. If they continue to attack, Jia Yan will definitely die. But they never expected that Jia Yan would not be so easy to deal with. One strike. Boom. Jia Yan's body suddenly flew backwards under the attack of a strong man. But there are just more blue areas on his body. However, his eyes seemed to be a little bluer, without any fear, and he went directly towards the place where the strong men of the three cities were, and suddenly came back. Puff. The strong man who attacked him didn't notice that Jia Yan came back so quickly and was stabbed by him. The strong man instantly flew upside down and fell to the ground. The two powerful men around him, at this moment, quickly ignored the injured person, and they joined forces to hit Jia Yan's body with their own attacks. Poof. The attack strength of the two powerful men cannot be underestimated, but Jia Yan's eyes seem to be a little brighter at this moment. It seems that I have underestimated my defensive power in the past. I was always afraid of close combat with others. Now that I think about it, if I used my defensive advantage to fight, maybe many of the past battles would have been easy for me. Fixed. At this moment, Jia Yan felt that many of his previous battles could be easily solved by using his own defensive power. But Jia Yan just thinks about it this way. Fighting with others in close combat is something Jia Yan is not willing to do. After all, Close combat represents a risk. If he had not already estimated the combat power of the opponent in front of him, he would definitely not be able to do it. We'll directly use this fighting method. And when these two powerful men fought with all their strength, the blue color on both sides of Jia Yan's body became more obvious. At this moment, the two powerful men were simply horrified. They were almost exhausted from fighting. But at this moment, Jia Yan actually burst out with powerful power, supplying it to the defense force, making the attack has no effect. This caused the two powerful men to fall into a bit of emptiness due to the attack at this moment. Humph, you have done me the greatest harm, so don't blame me, just be disrespectful. Suddenly, a strange coldness flashed across Jia Yan's eyes, and then his attack, like a shadow, suddenly came to the bodies of the two powerful men. It was like the two big feet were stretched out, and suddenly they were stabbed in the abdomen. Fortunately, Jia Yan endured it and did not explode the brainwave power when the attack hit the opponent's abdomen, causing them to explode and die. Because there are a total of 13 controllers here, and there are even two beings who seem to be quite powerful. If they do this, Jia Yan estimates that they will definitely fight to the death. But even this kind of attack is definitely enough to make these two masters lose most of their combat effectiveness in a short period of time. Ah! The two controllers spurted blood from their mouths and suddenly fell to the ground, unable to move immediately. Sharp! Just when this group of creatures were shocked by Jia Yan's strength, shouts came from the outside world. Jia Yan Dun looked out at the sound and saw the child of the giant clan, the one whose blood he had sucked, outside the huge building, lowering his head and looking at it with great interest. After all, as a clan of giants, they don't have much else to do, so they just watch the little bugs fight and find the bookstore. In their opinion, it is a relatively good game. As for the group of controllers here, this child actually followed them outside their building, and they felt extremely stressed for a moment. Because when Jia Yan killed the three masters just now, one of the masters even gave the Zhengtang an idea to kill Jia Yan directly with a group of people. But now it seems that even if this child has nothing to do with Jia Yan, he will never sit back and watch such a situation happen. It is a bit scary to know the fighting power of this giant clan. If this child is really angry, even if the controller alliance has some agreement with the giant clan, but he gets mad on the spot, he will probably destroy the huge house they are in with one kick. If it collapses, even if there is any agreement, it will probably be of little use. And this child, at this moment, really feels very good about Jia Yan. After all, children like powerful existences, even for them, Jia Yan is not powerful enough to fight with him, but at the same level. Being invincible among living things already makes this child feel a little admired. Very good, Your Excellency Jia Yan, your strength has indeed not disappointed me. However, this is only the second game, and the next third game will require you to fight against the four powerful men. Lord Jia Yan, I think your strength is good, and the fact that you killed the moth must be a bit of a misunderstanding. If you admit your mistake now, I am willing to let you stop the assessment. From now on, you will follow me as a subordinate for 10 years. Then in the future I will also give you the status of a controller. What do you think? The official suddenly made such suggestions to Jia Yan. Oh, I follow you, and 10 years later, will I gain the status of a controller? Jia Yan asked calmly. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1510. Yes, as long as you are willing, this assessment will definitely stop. Your Excellency Jia Yan, you have to know that there are people who take such assessments every year, but in fact, only those who can actually pass the test in the alliance of controllers for so many years there are only one or two people out there. Do you think that you can reach the strength of those two great beings? Forgive me to tell you directly, the strength you are showing now is still far behind. Zheng Tang said this to Jia Yan very straightforwardly. Oh? I'm still far behind. Jia Yan asked in surprise, then he lowered his head in silence, as if in deep thought. Seeing Jia Yan in the main hall, he seemed to be thinking about something. Just when he was about to continue to use words to persuade Jia Yan, and just when he had one more subordinate under his command who was more powerful than most controllers, Jia Yan raised his head again. There was a hint of teasing in his eyes. Since the opponent thinks that he will definitely not be able to defeat so many strong men present, then Jia Yan will show off his weakness and fight later, which may also be of some benefit. After all, he also knows that he is dealing with a group of powerful controllers. Among these controllers, there is even the Zhengtang. Jia Yan estimates that his strength should be close to his own. As for who is stronger than who? Weak, you have to fight to find out. Of course, Jia Yan has his own advantage, that is, his ability to escape is definitely beyond their imagination. Therefore, Jia Yan was invincible from the beginning of this battle, so at this moment, even if Jia Yan performed a little worse, and it won't damage his face or anything. The only requirement is to see if he can really get a chance to win. This group of controllers still think that my strength is not good enough, so they will definitely be careless in the future. Even if I win one game after another, they probably just think that they will beat me in the next game, and I will solve the problem one by one. By sealing the strength, they will slowly lose manpower, and even if they have to use all of them, they will not be able to defeat me. Jia Yan made plans. Outside this huge room, the even bigger children of the giant family were also watching Jia Yan's battle with a group of creatures with bright eyes. The next step is a battle between 4 people, come on. In the team of controllers, 4 powerful men stepped out. Among them, there was a strong man that Jia Yan had defeated just now. It turns out that it is impossible for these powerful players to have such a large number of opponents to fight for several consecutive battles, so they also have to use waste. Haha, these guys, you have been defeated by me once, do you still want to humiliate yourself? You are simply arrogant. Yes, the 3 of us can't beat you, but that's not the case with the 4 of us. You must know that the 4 powerful ones will already make you exhausted. There is no possibility of counterattack against us, even if one of us, if a few of them are injured, you won't stand a chance. In other words, we already know your fighting habits, and your defensive moves have no effect on us at all. You will definitely lose. The 4 controllers suddenly stepped forward. Their attack this time actually had a certain plan. It seemed that Jia Yan's combat mode had been discussed before the battle. And as they said, they had a certain understanding of Jia Yan's combat capabilities and combat plans in previous battles. In this battle, even if they were injured, they were relatively much better. Some advantages. Under such circumstances, it would be difficult for Jia Yan to use the previous defense-focused fighting mode. But they have no idea that Jia Yan still has many combat modes and combat skills that have not been unlocked yet. Just as the 4 masters arrived, Jia Yan had already understood their fighting power and felt that if he did not use more fighting modes this time, he would definitely have no chance of winning again. In other words, even if you win, it will definitely not be worth the loss, and you may even be seriously injured. So he simply gave up the close combat and no longer wanted to test the possibilities of his Azure defense. But when a group of controllers arrived, he took a step back directly. Who? What? How come? Ah, it's that move. Isn't it impossible for him to use it? The group of bystanders, plus the 4 controllers in the battle, all felt unbelievable at this moment. Because Jia Yan actually just disappeared in front of their eyes. And none of them knew how Jia Yan disappeared. All I saw was that the place where Jia Yan retreated was distorted and blurred. For these creatures, nothing else can be seen. All I know is that the space and abilities inside are extremely shocking and terrifying. Here, he has never used this method of leaving before. It seems that there should be some restrictions on his method of leaving and disappearing, Otherwise he would not be able to use it at the beginning. Be careful, this guy is very scary now. The main hall was downstairs. After seeing Jia Yan's way of avoiding, they directly knew that Jia Yan's movement method was definitely not something they could understand, and this also verified that the two of them had just arrived at the battle place. What I saw was not a dazzling sight. Jia Yan actually has such a terrifying way of moving. Even the main hall became a little solemn at this moment. Because Jia Yan had this kind of fighting method, even he felt a little bit troublesome. What on earth is this? If he can move freely in that kind of space and we can't attack him, then we definitely can't stop him. He can leave and come whenever he wants. Zheng Tang couldn't believe it at all. There was such a terrifying movement plan in this world. Even he had heard before that some masters of talisman had transfer runes that were unimaginably terrifying. But when he actually saw this way of movement, he still felt vaguely in his heart that this way of movement was definitely not something he had heard of that could be done with the talisman power. Because this Jia Yan, even Fu Dao was useless and just disappeared. Let's be careful. Even the main hall is very wary of his way of moving. It seems that this guy's fighting ability is much more terrifying than we imagined. The four controllers were like headless flies at this moment, without a target. Even if they had discussed the cooperative fighting method, it was completely useless at this moment. However, they were not kept waiting for too long, but as soon as a speaking controller finished speaking, a crack in space opened behind him. Careful! Zheng Tang suddenly shouted loudly on the sidelines. Originally, this kind of reminder was illegal, but in this assessment, it was impossible for anyone to help Jia Yan appeal for such a thing, so at this moment, the controller who received the reminder from the main hall reacted instantly. But this reaction is definitely not fast enough. Originally, the crack in the space was torn open relatively quickly, and the attack inside seemed to appear at the same moment as the crack was torn open, and the controller had to hear the reminder from the main hall before he could react. How? It may be possible. Puff. A sharp blue foot suddenly pierced the controller's body. Ah! The controller had no idea that he would be injured by Jia Yan with such a blow. He was about to escape from Jia Yan's attacking foot, but a buzzing brainwave power stirred slightly in his body, and the controller creature stopped moving in an instant. You actually dare to kill one of my controllers during the assessment. This is disrespectful. Just wait for our siege. On the controller's side, there was another controller who had just reacted. When he saw that the controller who was about the same strength as him was actually unable to move under Jia Yan's blow, he thought Jia Yan killed him and was shocked and angry at the same time. Because he knew that if the controller couldn't resist Jia Yan's blow, then he would be even less able. If Jia Yan dared to kill anyone, it might be him next. Your Excellency, it's not okay to spout blood. I didn't kill him. If you don't believe me, you can see for yourself. Jia Yan's response to him was just a sneer. After actually understanding it, he discovered that even though there are many weird things in this world, and the strong are incredibly powerful, one thing remains unchanged, and that is the human heart. The hearts of people in both worlds are the same, with almost no changes. Everyone is afraid of the strong, and they are also frightened by the unknown power. The subspace power that Jia Yan is showing now makes the group of controllers in front of him feel frightened. Of course, he has to pretend to be mysterious. However, the water among controllers is very deep. Of course, he will not really kill another one and make himself uncomfortable, because even if he kills all the controllers in front of him, there may be a much stronger controller next. He would not have the confidence to take over the opponent's strength. Therefore, he did not kill the controller who was injured by him. There is no benefit in killing them anyway. Okay, he is indeed not dead. You three, hurry up and fight Mr. Jia Yan. Next, we have to conduct the fourth assessment. The demeanor in the main hall has completely turned cold. You must know that Jia Yan's fighting ability at this moment, especially his ability in space, shocked him greatly. Because of this ability, once it is used, even he doesn't have much confidence that it can be easily followed. Fortunately, this guy's attack speed is not very fast. If I can fight back the moment he appears, I might be able to block him directly. After feeling a little shocked by Jia Yan's fighting ability, Zheng Tang instantly thought of some solutions he thought he had. And he also determined that Jia Yan must have completely exposed his last trick, which meant that he would definitely not have any new methods in the next battle. As for why it's said to be the next one, in fact, it was because when the controller fell to the ground, Zheng Tang knew that Jia Yan must have won this battle. Just now, he won so happily in 1 versus 3. In this 1 versus 3, Jia Yan also revealed a new way of fighting. He will definitely not lose. Facts have proved that he was right. Because Jia Yan seemed to be overwhelming, instantly defeating the 3 controllers who were waiting for him. With the use of his subspace ability, his combat ability has more than doubled compared to melee combat. Your Excellency Jia Yan, I apologize to you. Your strength is far beyond my expectation. I am not even sure that I can defeat you. Just now I wanted to take the liberty of accepting you as my subordinate. Regarding this point, I express apologize, but next is the real battle. Your strength is too strong, we cannot hold back, and we will send real strong men. Are you ready? Am I ready? Listening to Zheng Tang's words that seemed to be apologizing and declaring war, Jia Yan smiled and shook his head. For him, the battle just now was like a warm-up, allowing him to have a better understanding of the huge power he had just increased. As for the lost power, it seemed to Jia Yan that it was no big problem. Knowing that he is an evolved beast, his resilience and physical strength are extremely exaggerated. I was ready from the beginning. Guys, if you are really ready, please let me experience the strength of a real controller. Otherwise, I will be disappointed. Jia Yan's words seemed to be quite disappointing to Jia Yan, just like the battle just now. Suddenly, the controllers who had just been defeated by Jia Yan were so angry that they almost jumped up from the ground. However, when Jia Yan glanced at them, they suddenly remembered how Jia Yan defeated them instantly, so after some hesitation, they still did not attack. Your Excellency Jia Yan, we know that you are quite capable, and we remember what you are saying now. The next 4th battle will be your battle against the 5 more powerful controllers among us. You must be careful. Point. In Zheng Tang's eyes, there was a hint of unwavering look, because even if other controllers didn't care about him, they were controllers at the same level as him after all. Jia Yan insulted them. It was tantamount to scolding the main hall, and of course he was not happy. But when it comes to Jia Yan, he no longer has too much contempt, and has a little more respect. So much so that even after hearing such mocking words, he didn't have much reaction to Jia Yan's remarks. In other words, he endured it. As soon as Zheng Tang finished speaking, most of the controllers beside him who had not moved a hand had a slightly solemn look on their faces at that moment, flying up from the ground and arriving in front of Jia Yan. And the second most powerful controller after Zheng Tang was actually among this group of controllers. The 5 controllers vaguely surrounded Jia Yan in the center. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1511. Jia Yan, I didn't expect that you could actually challenge to the 4th game, but that's it? The 5 of us are not comparable to the previous ones. The second most powerful being among the controllers was very surprised that Jia Yan was able to break through to their 4th level in this battle. But that's it, these 5 powerful men are not the ones who besieged Jia Yan just now. They are all new controllers. They have not been injured, and their strength is generally stronger than the controllers who just fought with Jia Yan. This makes them still confident, even if Jia Yan has them. They haven't seen the subspace ability, but the moment the subspace opened, they were still able to avoid Jia Yan's attack. And while they were avoiding it, the surrounding comrades would cause the revealed Jia Yan to be directly attacked and injured. That way they will win. Even if Jia Yan uses his subspace advantage to escape, although they can't stop him, at least they won't lose. Hey, 5 of you, please don't make the same mistake they just made. Jia Yan shook his head and just spoke lightly. You bastard, how dare you underestimate us? The demeanor of the 5 major creatures changed instantly. What Jia Yan meant was that they should not make the same mistake that the controllers made just now. They also underestimated Jia Yan at the beginning, which led to their failure. Of course, even if they fight with all their strength, they still won't be able to defeat Jia Yan, but at least they will be able to hold on for a while longer. But when Jia Yan said this now, each of these creatures felt that Jia Yan was saying that their strength was no different from the previous controllers. In this area of the controller alliance, these major controllers have always believed that they are different in strength from the previous controllers, so they think highly of themselves. But at this moment, Jia Yan actually said that they had the same strength as those controllers. This is completely unacceptable to them. Fight. One of the controllers had a sneer on his face and stepped over. As the first person to sound the horn in the battle, it's not because he really has any angry temper, because he was the first one to take action, but now Jia Yan does make him a little angry. In an instant, the controller's anger towards Jia Yan reached its peak, so he did not hold back in his attack. Since Your Excellency Jia Yan thinks that our strength cannot be underestimated by you, then try my foot attack. When the controller came, he struck with one foot and exploded like a rocket. The world seemed to be shaking a little. This attack was absolutely terrifying, even causing great vibrations in the space in this area. It is much more difficult to know the vibrations of this world than in the original universe in Jia Yan. Being able to cause vibrations here means that it can also cause tremors in the outer universe with one blow. Even some small interstellar matter will be directly affected by the vibrations and may be scattered. Even Jia Yan now can't do this. It can be seen that this coming creature is definitely an extremely powerful creature. But even if you are strong, what's the use of being strong if I don't fight you head on? At this moment, Jia Yan actually stepped back and entered the subspace again. When the creature that exploded with terrifying power approached, his heart trembled and his demeanor changed. Is this the move he performed just now? It's really magical. I didn't feel any big energy fluctuations. This guy actually dodged my attack. Originally, I wanted to try this attack. How fast he can dodge. Now it seems that his speed is far beyond our imagination. Naturally, this controller creature will not really lose its mind because of Jia Yan's words just now. It is just a test of Jia Yan's evasion speed at this moment. It's just that his attack actually used a lot of force. This time, he couldn't attack Jia Yan. Not only was his energy wasted, but he also let Jia Yan know his combat attributes, which were great speed and strength. It's just that the flexibility is a bit lacking. On the side of the space where he lives, the space is split open. One front foot quietly reached out, and he was about to pierce the creature's body at the next moment. Careful! Suddenly, next to him, there was another creature that came like lightning. He used his body to hit Jia Yan's protruding feet. What? At this moment, Jia Yan, who had just wanted to make a sneak attack, changed his expression slightly and hurriedly evaded. However, his outstretched foot was hit hard for a moment by the approaching figure. When he hid back in the subspace, he found that there was something like ice cubes on his feet. What is this? Is this a creature in this world with the so-called superpowers? Jia Yan looked at his feet in the subspace, as if he had seen something extraordinary. Because in his worldview, even the powerful creatures in the universe are extremely powerful and have extremely amazing and incredible abilities, but they cannot escape the shadow of science, and there is nothing unscientific about them. But in this world, When he heard others calling him a person with superpowers, he felt a little surprised. Even after hearing this name, he still thought that this kind of existence only had abilities that could be explained by science, such as his subspace ability. But now that he was suddenly attacked by this ability to melt ice, Jia Yan was completely shocked, because he felt that this ability was completely incomprehensible with his own scientific knowledge. In other words, it is actually possible for the creatures in this world to have weird superpowers that he thought did not exist. Haha, interesting, really interesting. Jia Yan's eyes showed a hint of surprise before becoming neither sad nor happy. For him, no matter what supernatural powers there are in this world, it does not prevent him from learning or strengthening his own strength here, and then leaving this place through the weird passage in the subspace. Whether there is any powerful ability in this world or not, he can't learn it anyway. It seems that this ability is not powerful enough to completely make him unable to resist. So no matter how strong he is, just some ice comes out during the battle, which is almost an itch for his blue. This guy was attacked by my ice power. Now he must be unable to use his feet. As long as he solves his other attack methods, he will definitely be forced to escape. He may even be killed by us. The visitor who attacked Jia Yan was a big white cat-like creature that looked crystal clear. He spoke so firmly to the several major controllers who came around him. It's amazing. If we were hit by your ice ability, we would definitely be hit unable to move. Even if Jia Yan is powerful, he will definitely not be able to cope with your ice ability. Your ice ability is getting stronger and stronger. In the future, I may have the title of the second strongest person in your hands, but it doesn't matter. I just ask you to take more care of me, haha. Several of the creatures that came had great respect for the white cat with ice abilities. As for Jia Yan, hiding in the subspace, he could actually hear their words. Is it ice ability? There was something wrong with the speed of his attack just now. It is probably that after this ice ability, there are other abilities. Since you are so powerful, I will deal with you first. Jia Yan has already made his decision. When a group of creatures were still chatting there, Jia Yan suddenly tore apart another piece of space. He came. Ha, I'm waiting for you. Here comes death. At this moment, a group of creatures, as if by chance, suddenly attacked the subspace that Jia Yan tore apart. But what they attacked was only a twisted land. In the torn space, there was not even a trace of the giant mosquito. Not good. The second most powerful creature seemed to suddenly understand something at this moment. When he looked back, he saw a new crack appearing next to the white cat creature. Even the white cat creature didn't notice that a strange giant mosquito mouthpart had already poked out its mouth needle and directly pierced the body of the white cat creature. Ah! At this moment, the white cat creature seemed to be under an intolerable attack. You must know that they are controllers. Although their strength is not extremely strong in this world, their endurance is not bad. But at this moment, they were actually stabbed by Jia Yan's needle, which hurt. It became unbearable. Asshole, you actually did this. Thinking eastward and attacking west, this move will actually work on us too. Let go of Mr. White Cat quickly. At this moment, the controllers saw that Jia Yan actually made the white cat creature worse than life and death with one blow, and they quickly gathered around here. They were all filled with righteous indignation and almost beat them up. 2. But they didn't really attack. Because Jia Yan's attack was too weird. It clearly tore a gap there, but it appeared at the same time here, so they didn't know how to fight. What the white cat creature can see with the naked eye is that its body becomes thinner in an instant. As for Jia Yan in the subspace, the mosquito's abdomen expanded directly as if it had sucked some liquid. So this is the blood of people with superpowers? There's nothing magical about it. I just don't know if there will be any changes in the future. Jia Yan sucked it for a while, but did not directly suck the white cat creature to death. Puff. He released the needle, and the white cat creature fell to the ground like a corpse. "You bastard, how dare you hurt Mr. White Cat so badly, you are looking for death." "Your Excellency Bai Mao, are you okay? What kind of wound is this? How did you do it?" "A lot of his blood has been sucked. He should have kept his hands, otherwise Mr. White Cat would be dead now." Everyone besieging Jia Yan, at this moment, their fear of Jia Yan became more obvious. "Huh, these 5 people can't survive. Can't even 5 of them defeat him." On the sidelines, the strongest man's eyes suddenly became weird. He originally thought that Jia Yan would definitely not be able to get through this again, and he was still thinking in his mind whether he should have a good talk with Jia Yan later, even if he really wanted to join their group of controllers. Nothing is impossible, but he needs Jia Yan to help him with certain tasks, such as dealing with other controllers or dealing with certain powerful opponents. But this plan was not fully thought out, and the fighting situation on the scene developed directly in the completely opposite direction he thought. This made this being feel extremely puzzled. And there was a hint of shock in his eyes. The ability that Jia Yan showed was still the ability of that space, but the feeling of this ability made him a little wary. Just now he said that Jia Yan might be about the same strength as him, but he felt a little bit pursued by Jia Yan. But now Jia Yan has shown his ability to tear apart space at will and confuse others in subspace, which makes him feel troubled. The 5 of them will definitely fail. Even with the second guy, it is impossible to restore the defeat. I arranged for the 5 of them to become this team because the White Cat's ability may cause some obstacles to Jia Yan. But now Bai Mao, this loser, was defeated in an instant, and his ice ability can't cause any hindrance to Jia Yan. How can it be possible for them to be undefeated? Zheng Tang felt more and more puzzled by Jia Yan's ability. Just now he discovered that Jia Yan had great resistance to the ice ability of the white cat creature. This makes him a little less confident, because his ability is actually a kind of supernatural ability. If Jia Yan has the ability to block the ice ability, then does Jia Yan also have the ability to block this ability? Woolen cloth? If so, what should be done then? There were waves of uncertainty in his heart. Humph, it's all because of his weird mobility. It would be great if another controller was here. But that lord left our area after I inherited his first position. A being who was transferred to a higher place, why is he here? Zheng Tang felt extremely depressed, and he felt that among the controllers, if there was a controller he knew, he would definitely be able to defeat Jia Yan easily. Hey, I finally came back and saw such a big show. Did this guy actually make it to the 4th level? When he felt depressed in the main hall, a sudden voice sounded in his ears. The main hall quickly followed the place where the sound came from and looked there. This voice was too familiar to him. He was just thinking about that existence. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1512. This. Lord Dongneng. After seeing the speaking creature, Zheng Tang's expression suddenly changed. He didn't have any bearing of the strongest person at all. He quickly flew over and shouted, "Sir!" It turns out that this so-called Lord Dongneng was actually the strongest person in this area before Zheng Tang got the title of the strongest person in this area. It is precisely because of his existence that Zheng Tang has always been the second existence. However, due to the huge difference in strength, Zheng Tang has never had much thought, and even admires this existence. Unfortunately, he was transferred some time ago to other places in the more prosperous Controller Alliance. But at this critical moment, this creature actually reappeared? Haha, I just happened to come here with a certain adult for inspection. After passing through your territory, I came in to take a look. I didn't expect that in the territory I walked out of, there was such a strong person coming to conduct an assessment. The creature had a long trunk and looked like a standing elephant. And he is also very big, even compared to the main hall, he is still a bit bigger. Although there are some small creatures in this world that are very powerful, size is still an advantage after all. Just like the giant family, even a child can make all creatures present feel troublesome, and don't dare to act rashly. That's right, sir, the person who came here for the assessment is a guy who just killed the moth. I think his strength is good, so I let him test it. Of course, he can pass the current level. I didn't expect it either. Oh, I'm afraid he can pass this 4th level. We can't let him pass the next level easily. After all, if he passed it easily, he will be famous in the entire alliance of controllers. You guys, if you do, you will be laughed at for the rest of your life. Let's do this. I will also go to the 5th level. What? Lord Dongneng is willing to do it himself. This is our honor. The main hall was very respectful to the giant elephant-like creature that suddenly appeared. It can be seen that the strength of the giant elephant creature must be more powerful than him. While they were talking, Jia Yan suddenly appeared from the subspace again in the battle scene. Puff. After one blow, a creature that looked like an elk suddenly fell from the air. Huh? Why is there another guy who looks like a controller coming out from underneath? Jia Yan took the time to look at the spectators below, and when he discovered that there was an elephant trunk creature that was larger than all the creatures present, about 10 kilometers in length, a flash of surprise flashed in his eyes. You must know that he originally thought that there were only so many controllers here, but another one appeared unexpectedly. He even seemed to be no weaker than Zheng Tang, maybe even stronger than him. This made Jia Yan's heart tighten, and he looked at the new creature slightly solemnly. For him, the main hall is already a variable, but if a more powerful existence comes, the variable will be even greater. Humph, no matter what changes you make, I still have some methods that I haven't used yet. Although your strength is strong, you are still in the beginner stage and have not reached the next level. To me, it is not crushing. If you have subspace and other abilities, there is still room for operation. Jia Yan is confident in his own strength, and has several extremely powerful skills from subspace. This is because he clearly knows that Zheng Tang's combat ability under normal conditions may be even stronger than Jia Yan's, but he still dares to the reason for the war. When a strong man fights, he never just stands and fights with others. Jia Yan would be a fool to not use it when he has such incredible abilities. Puff. Puff. Even if Jia Yan took the time to look down, he still did not give up the attack in his hand. For him, the battle at this time could not be underestimated, so after a moment of confusion, he suddenly used his strength to knock out those few desires. Take the opportunity to attack his besiegers and smash them to the ground. Huh? This Jia Yan has actually improved his strength again. In the main hall below, the expression changed slightly. Why, as long as he has not exceeded the 1st level, how can he beat me, haha. But this ability is not bad, it is really good. Dongneng, who was watching the battle below, didn't seem to have much fear about Jia Yan's subspace ability. After seeing Jia Yan's ability in battle, he became very interested. The battle in mid-air lasted for a long time. Even the second strongest controller doesn't have much room to struggle under the violent storm of Jia Yan's subspace sneak attack. After all, although he is strong, he is always under attack and will definitely be attacked soon. It will be exhausted. Puff. After another sneak attack from Jia Yan, he was on the verge of collapse. Okay, Book, come down too. You lose. Cooperate with us later. Just when the second strongest controller was wondering whether he should admit defeat or struggle some more, the young controller who was watching the battle below said this to the second strongest controller in the air. Huh? Lord Dongneng, sir, why are you here free? I surrender. When the second strongest man saw the creature underneath, his demeanor suddenly changed, as if he had seen an elder. Jia Yan just flew out of the subspace and was about to attack, but after hearing his words of surrender, he immediately stopped attacking. After all, he was not ready to bear the full fury of the alliance of controllers, so under this kind of assessment, it was better not to kill others if he could. Your Excellency, you have won this fourth battle. Wait for Huifeng's fifth battle. I want to join. I wonder if you are willing to agree? Don't worry, I am also the controller of this field. In the past, I just left for a while. The Dongneng long-nosed monster said calmly to Jia Yan from below. Jia Yan was located high in the sky and immediately completely ignored the group of creatures below, just silently looking at the being who had just spoken. Previously, Jia Yan only had a glimpse of him because of the battle, but at this moment, after he carefully looked at the so-called Dongneng, he suddenly discovered that this guy's strength was actually faint. Like a volcano erupting, his understanding of the Tao seemed to have reached a certain peak, making Jia Yan feel as if his brainwave power was about to be torn apart by him as soon as he felt it. Obviously, Dongneng also knew that Jia Yan was spying on him, but he suddenly withdrew his resistance in front of Jia Yan's coming energy, as if he wanted Jia Yan to see clearly. He was too confident in himself. Jia Yan suddenly smiled from the bottom of his heart. The other party seemed confident. How could he, Jia Yan, not be so confident? Haha, Your Excellency is joking. Don't say you are the controller of this territory. Even if you are not, there is nothing you can do if you want to join me. I hope you can keep it later. Jia Yan smiled. Very good. I haven't seen such an interesting strong person like you for a long time. I'll join you. But I told you in advance that my strength is not at their level. If you don't understand my strength, you can't. Don't take the initiative to attack me. That Dongneng nodded lightly. I see. Jia Yan even smiled coldly. The opponent's pretense was too much. Jia Yan wondered if he would beat the crap out of him when he showed up with all his strength. Okay, in that case, let's start the sixth game. Zheng Tang was at the bottom, his eyes flashing with an inexplicable luster. He seemed to have long wanted to step forward and attack Jia Yan to see if it was his ability or Jia Yan's strength that was stronger. No hurry, this is Your Excellency Jia Yan. You have fought so many battles just now. I think your physical strength must have been lost. I don't want to take advantage of others. If you want to rest, just rest for a while and let's fight again. But at this moment, Dongneng continued to interrupt the speech in the main hall with pretentiousness. As expected of Lord Dongneng, he is extremely fat. I have learned a lesson. There was a pause in the hall, and a hint of shyness actually flashed on the monster's face. It seems that he also thinks that what Mr. Dongneng said is right, and compared with his way of taking advantage of others' danger, it is much higher. Idiot. Just as Na Dongneng was preparing to continue preaching to the surrounding controllers, suddenly an extremely arrogant voice and a sudden sneer came from the air. Huh? Mr. Jia Yan, I don't seem to hear what you said clearly. Na Dongneng's expression changed slightly, and the elephant's trunk almost stood up. Obviously, he heard it, but he didn't believe that Jia Yan dared to say that. Because Dongneng has been running rampant around here for who knows how many years, has connections from top to bottom, and has a high prestige, so at this moment, he actually doesn't believe that someone dares to speak rudely to him in this territory. Haha, say it again, so what if you say it 10 times? I said you are an idiot. Do you understand, idiot? Jia Yan laughed and sneered even more. What about rest? Don't pretend to be righteous. If you want to fight faster and waste so much physical energy, I don't think anything of it. In other words, I won't feel that I have suffered any loss even if I don't have enough physical energy to deal with you. What? How brave to say that. When Jia Yan said such words calmly, the creatures in the group below seemed to be furious in an instant, and each of them looked furious, as if Jia Yan continued to act like this, they would ignore the formation of the 6-person assessment, regardless of whether they were injured. All of them, including those who were not injured, all swarmed up and attacked Jia Yan. "Oh, don't get excited, everyone. Your Excellency, Jia Yan, probably doesn't know the strength of us controllers yet. He doesn't even know the strength of Dong Neng. But, since he wants to fight, let's fight. It's his fault that he doesn't want to rest. We have already given him the opportunity. If he is defeated or even killed in battle later, he has nothing to say." Dong Neng still seemed to be more atmospheric, but the feeling in his words was no longer atmospheric, but with a faint murderous intention. Jia Yan's words indeed made Dong Neng have a hint of murderous intention. As a person who dominates here, but after working in the outside world, he has transformed into a complete younger brother. He came here today because he actually wanted to feel the feeling of being a top big shot here again. But this creature who dared to come to their territorial settlement for a provocative assessment actually spoke rudely to me. This made him intolerable. "Let's go." He said this lightly, and at that moment, a group of controller creatures around him, all of them seemed to be extremely glorious, flying into the sky. "I actually joined forces with Lord Dong Neng to fight against the enemy. If you tell me this, it will definitely be an honor and others will be envious to death." A person in control is literally taking off with joy. The controller on the other side was so nervous that he almost couldn't fly. As a controller, he shouldn't have such emotions, but at this moment, he actually felt, "I was so nervous that I couldn't even move well." Even the person in charge was slightly dizzy due to emotional problems. This shows what kind of existence this creature named Dong Neng is in the eyes of the controller of this area. "Jia Yan, right? You are very good. If you stop now, I will make you my slave. You only need to work for me for 100 years. I guarantee that you will get a chore job directly at the Controller Alliance headquarters." Haha, you don't have to be too excited, everything depends on whether you can seize this opportunity. Na Dong Neng actually said such a domineering sentence after flying in front of Jia Yan, and even thought that Jia Yan must have cried and bowed down immediately. You must know that it is a chore opportunity within the Controller Alliance. Although he is just a chore now, he estimates that as long as he works hard, he should be able to arrange another chore in 100 years. Of course, even if the cowhide is blown by then, what will happen? Who knows what will happen 100 years later, but now that he has a slave like Jia Yan who comes and goes without a trace, he thinks that is the most important thing. He thought that the awesomeness he boasted would definitely make Jia Yan stunned. But who is Jia Yan? Not to mention that he doesn't know much about the so-called alliance of controllers now. Even if he did, with his status as an evolved beast and his current character, would he agree to such a request? Idiot. Caught off guard, Dong Neng, who was waiting for Jia Yan to kneel down and cry, was unexpectedly greeted by Jia Yan with such a cold curse. "I'll wipe it. You're so shameless, Jean." Na Dong Neng couldn't bear it anymore. He just wanted to have a sense of presence here, but Jia Yan repeatedly criticized him with words and even scolded him. This was something he couldn't bear. "Superior. He actually scolded our idol several times. This is too much. I'll beat him to death." The controller creatures around Dong Neng also screamed at this moment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1513. A battle between one person and 6 creatures. Start from here. Jia Yan flew high into the sky, and all the creatures under him followed him without any hesitation. To them, Jia Yan is now a being who can be crushed to death easily. Of course, it depends on whether the most powerful Lord Dong Neng is willing to kill Jia Yan. And they were just casually beating Yaji's subordinates on the sidelines. Naturally, these creatures would not think that the dignified Lord Dong Neng would have any chance of losing under the hands of a mere outsider like Jia Yan. After all, as the most powerful person in this controller area, Lord Dongneng has long been famous. And Jia Yan? They had seen the battle just now, it was just a creature with really good strength. Even if there is a certain amount of supernatural power, the supernatural power must correspond to the strong person's own strength. Just like Jia Yan's feeling in the outside world, as long as he is strong and faces the weak, no matter what the weak uses. No matter how weird and powerful his moves are, even a strong person has never seen them before, but a strong person is a strong person, and he can still easily kill the weak person with one hand. This is the strength of the strong. Alright, Zhengtang, you will lead the four of them to fight this Lord Jia Yan first. I will just take a look at it first, otherwise I will be too bullying. Na Dongneng seemed helpless and said to Zhengtang beside him. Okay, Lord Dongneng. Obviously, Zhengtang actually obeyed the words of Lord Dongneng, and judging from his appearance, he also felt that he admired Dongneng very much. Jia Yan, right? Since Master Dongneng wants us to destroy you, how you will lose next depends on your own destiny. After all, we all have to perform in front of Master Dongneng. You don't want that quota. That's what we want. Zhengtang spoke calmly to Jia Yan. Seeing that the controllers around him were all returning to their senses, Jia Yan noticed that they were actually very concerned about their odd jobs. Oh, this is the difference in perspective. If I were a person in the city, I might have wasted 100 years of my time in the hands of Dongneng just because I could enter the headquarters of the Alliance of Controllers. It's a pity that I am a powerful person from outside, and in the outside world, I am a powerful being. In this world, although I have become not so powerful, my vision is far from that of these mere powers. Can be compared. Jia Yan thought lightly, as a top powerhouse outside the universe, even if he is not strong in this world, he still has the pride of being a top powerhouse here. You haven't entered that space yet, you're looking for death. Here, a controller saw Jia Yan standing in the external space, but did not enter that space when so many powerful people were coming, and he suddenly felt a little angry in his heart. He thought that Jia Yan actually regarded them as the guys who fought with Jia Yan just now, and had no feeling of worrying about their strength at all. This made them confident that they were more powerful than the existence just now. In an instant, the feeling of being defeated. Yes, you are seeking death. You dare to be so careless in front of our top controllers. Don't blame us if you die. There was another extremely powerful controller who also launched an attack on Jia Yan at this moment. Several major controllers all have various abilities. One of them seemed to spit out flames, and another one's body quickly became extremely hard. It looked a bit like Jia Yan's Azure defense, but he was so hard, as if a little more thorough, even the speed of movement has become a little slower. The four masters quickly took action. Even the second most powerful man, who had never fought directly with Jia Yan just now, wanted to wash away his humiliation at this moment, and even wanted to be in Dongneng. To save face in front of the adults, I attacked very hard. As for the more powerful Zhengtang, he stood aside and watched. He felt the same as Na Dongneng, and wanted to stand by and watch because he thought he was stronger than the group of creatures attacking Jia Yan. But at this moment, after Jia Yan looked at the most powerful Zhengtang, his face became indifferent for a while, and then his body just stepped back. Entered the subspace. A group of creatures attacked the place where Jia Yan was originally, but they were completely defeated in an instant. Jia Yan's evading speed seemed to be getting faster in their eyes. The demeanor of a group of controlling creatures changed drastically for a moment. You must know that when they attacked just now, it was like Jia Yan was in the outside universe. Even if the opponent also had some unique combat powers, they also used their own powers. They felt that they were all powers. After they used it, no matter how powerful Jia Yan's supernatural power was, there would definitely be no possibility of evading the attacks of so many supernatural powers of the same level. but the reality was beyond their expectation. Jia Yan's body, further away from their group of creatures, faintly emerged from the subspace. He shook his head and pointed at Dong Nang, who was standing idly by in a distant place, and then pointed at the main hall not far away. They don't care enough. You two, come on and let me see if you can force me to take action with all my strength. What? It's just audacious. To actually say such things about Mr. Dong Nang, I think I'm going to die. The creatures watching one by one, as well as the creatures that had just attacked Jia Yan but failed, instantly felt that Jia Yan was seeking death. Because in their hearts, Lord Dongnang must be invincible. In this realm where he has just entered Taoism, almost no one can compete with Lord Dongnang. But this Jia Yan actually dares to speak to Lord Dongnang like this? Also, what does he mean by force him to do his best? Does this guy really have any strength that he hasn't fully demonstrated yet? Impossible. As strong men, they could all see that apart from Jia Yan's weird subspace ability, his physical strength was roughly similar to theirs. Even if his defense was stronger, without that space ability, they would definitely be able to quickly. It is possible to break through Jia Yan's defense and directly defeat or even kill him. But they actually heard Jia Yan say that both Masters Zhengtang and Dong Neng must take action together to pose a threat to him. Simply the funniest joke in the world. And after fighting so many games, even if he is really strong, he has definitely dropped a lot. Does he still have any strength like this? He. Just as a group of subordinates thought, Na Dongnang smiled directly at this moment, but there was a trace of anger in this smile. You know, before he came here, he was actually a little angry in the alliance of controllers. He originally came here to find a sense of presence, but actually in a place like this, there was someone who came from nowhere. How dare you look down on the existence that emerged from the land and told him what to do? Very good, Jia Yan, right? You've moved me a bit. The way you avoided fighting just now is very interesting to me. So as you wish, I'll fight you now. I do as you wish, but Lord Dongnang actually wants to take action, so we are not willing to take action. You can first dodge Lord Dongnang's blow. Zhengtang also shook his head, but had no intention of moving because he didn't think Jia Yan could survive Dongnang's blow for how long. Dongnang slowly flew up and reached the height of everyone. But just when he was about to take action, Jia Yan, standing opposite him, still shook his head in disdain. I said, it's not you alone, but a group of you, come together. I don't have much time. If you don't come together, it's a waste of my time. What? This is too serious. Do you want us to come together? He actually dares to look down on Lord Dongnang. This is too exaggerated. This is not how you pretend to be cool. Even Lord Dongnang looks down on you. This is too damn excessive. Watching the battle below, a group of controllers who had already been defeated by Jia Yan wanted to jump into the air and attack Jia Yan at this moment. But under the rules, they didn't dare. Of course what Jia Yan said had a point, because at this moment, Jia Yan wanted to use another of his abilities. In fact, Na Zhengtang has also seen this ability, but it must have been a glimpse, or he didn't understand it, so later, he didn't think it was Jia Yan's ability. This ability is exactly the shock ability that Jia Yan has been using to suppress others. Thanks to Jia Yan's battle with a group of controllers before, and the battle process of killing the moth, Jia Yan completely understood what the strength of the controllers was, and the power of vibration has also been slowly adjusted in the bottom of my heart, and this group of creatures has some stronger combat capabilities. Very well, since you want to die, then we will help you. Dongneng was about to vomit blood from Jia Yan's anger. This moment was so angry and funny. Since this outsider was so bold, he wanted this being to taste the taste of despair. He has changed his mind. Even if Jia Yan is good, he might be an excellent assistant for him in the future. But he doesn't want such an assistant. He even wants it? In the future, when this guy's strength improves and surpasses his own. He didn't know whether he would do something to him, so he might as well just kill him. Everyone, you heard it, Your Excellency Jia Yan actually wants us to join forces, so give him some face and let's join forces. Kill. Dong Neng was the first to kill Jia Yan instantly. Just when Jia Yan seemed to be about to react, the expression on his monster face instantly revealed a sly smile. Want to leave again? No way. Click click click. Just when Jia Yan was about to move, streaks of energy appeared in the air around him, as if out of thin air. At the same time as these abilities appeared, they turned into some kind of invisible big hand, which suddenly pulled Jia Yan's body for a moment. At this moment, Jia Yan felt that his body was out of control. Haha, you are controlled by my ability. It is almost impossible to escape from my ability. Dong Neng burst into laughter, and then he wanted to go up and prove that he could kill Jia Yan by himself, and directly attack Jia Yan to death. This guy, who I thought was so powerful just now, couldn't survive a single move under Master Dong Neng's hands. It's a huge disappointment to us. Haha, he is already strong enough. You must know that this is Master Dong Neng. A person who can be restrained by one of his moves and can move his eyes is already very powerful. The controllers at the rear just sneered as if they had known about the scene for a long time. But just when they wanted to wait, they saw that Jia Yan, an outsider who dared to provoke Master Dong Neng, turned into a blood mist under the blow of Master Dong Neng. Jia Yan, who was under the control of Dong Neng's ability, actually smiled lightly. That's right, even though he was being controlled by others, he actually still laughed. Haha, it turns out that this is your ability, to control others. It just so happens that my ability is a bit similar to yours, so let's compare and see who controls who. Buzz. As soon as Jia Yan finished speaking, a strange wave of power surged out from inside his body. Buzz. The ripples in this space are like waves of surging water, as if turning the surrounding area into a sea, and the waves disperse instantly. What? The approaching Dong Neng was unable to react at this moment and crashed into the ripples. Behind him, he was just pretending to be flying into the main hall. In the same instant, he was dispersed by the power of the ripples and entered. This, what kind of power is this? Didn't he already have the ability of that weird space? Why does he still have another ability? Could it be that he is the legendary dual ability person? Oh my god. A person with dual abilities is almost a legend. We actually saw one, and such a being is still our opponent, this and this. It turns out that in this world, there are still people with dual abilities, but the fluctuating power displayed by Jia Yan was actually misunderstood by them as another ability. People with dual abilities seem to be extremely powerful beings in this area. At this moment, their monster appearances showed a state of extreme shock and fear. Even Dong Neng was like this. He was already struggling just a moment ago, and he almost succeeded in struggling within 2 or 3 seconds. After all, his strength was so powerful that it could not be increased. Of course, even if he succeeds in his struggle, Jia Yan will still have ways to make him fall into other traps. But at this moment, when he realized that Jia Yan was actually a person with dual abilities, he immediately didn't dare to move.